Welcome, everyone, to this week's Webinar Wednesday, on Wednesday, the 9th of June, 2021.
Indeed. Good to see you again.
Yeah. And this week we have returning guests, don't we, Alistair?
We have the inimitable Jonathan.
Yeah, inimitable, right, okay. I was I was thinking of some alliterative descriptions for Jonathan. Fabulous. We could do fabulous Jonathan, fantastic Jonathan.
I think it would need to be something made up like fantabulous, because
we'd have to have two words together, wouldn't we? That's right, yeah.
Because they're going to be Zoosophy today, aren't they? So we're going to understand what that's all about.
Yeah. I find that quite a hard word to know how to say it, actually. Zoosophy. Yeah,
absolutely, yeah. So what else has been happening in the world this week? What else have we got to tell people?
Well, it's a normal week beginning to come out of lockdown. A few more little bits of contact actually with people. I was just telling you that I was meeting up with people from Neighbourhood Networks yesterday, which is where our In Control Scotland office is based, in the offices of Neighbourhood Networks, and I'm in the office on Friday for a meeting this week, so it's just interesting beginning to get out a bit more and meet some more people in person. So so that's a nice little message they're saying about them being happiness experts. So lots of people, I'm sure, will be interested to find out about that as well.
Yeah, no, definitely some interesting stuff there. So yes, that thing about meeting people in person, we've been talking about that for a wee while, and all those kind of setbacks of things are going okay, and then things get a bit worse, and there's all this stuff about which countries you can go to and stuff. So lots of people's plans are all over the place for summer. I know some people that had planned to go to Portugal because it was a green country, and now it's not.
Yeah.
I personally think it's not for them that's worth it at the moment. So I'm just going to go camping in Scotland. That's my summer holiday plan.
Yeah, and you're heading north for work again in a couple of weeks' time, aren't you? Not next week, but the week after.
Yes, that's right. Heading up to Shetland, and I just need to get my accommodation booked, because up there's getting booked up as well. I think anywhere, because people are scrambling to fill up the places, it's just really hard. So whether you're traveling for leisure or whether you're traveling for work, it's just really hard to find places now, because everything's just going through the roof. But so it'll be really great to be up in Shetland again, exploring stuff.
That's it, Alistair. Chimneys, they're going through the roof.
Indeed.
Sorry. Okay.
I'll set up the drum kit for that one.
I think so. Yeah.
So
you've been doing your film director's role as well this week, haven't you?
Film director's role, yes. So this is not quite Spielberg. So basically, we're doing this rights and equalities work, and the Ability Academy which is kind of all about inclusive opportunities for people to get involved in media. We're doing heaps of individualised filming and some group filming to try and do work about the rights and equalities work for care experienced young people. And so we're doing some more of that at lunchtime today, and then again on Saturday. So it's lots of filming, lots of stuff to do with that. Well, there's other things coming up as well, isn't there?
Sorry, at the end of that, Alice, there'll be a film that people can watch, won't there? So there'll be like an actual film that people can watch.
It's going to be a short film, just a very short film, just spliced together, and it's got to be a mix of things like there's a poem that the group's come up with, that's going to be read together. We're going to talk about things that are important, round about issues about inclusion, round about issues about what helps people feel safe and involved, the things that folks struggle with, and just to hopefully just a bit of thought thoughtful reflections about folks' own journey. So there's going to be some stuff that's as a group, but there's opportunities for small videos individually as well. So hopefully it's challenging, but it's also a bit of fun as well. So it's quite, it's an interesting bit of work, and it's going to be on the Life Changes Trust website, and we can put it in ours and share it on social media as well. And again, all about raising awareness of the importance of people's rights and creating inclusive spaces. So that's good stuff.
Okay, sounds interesting. Yeah, and you were just going to mention where we're going tonight, aren't you? We're going to Canada tonight, aren't we, Alistair?
We are going to Canada tonight. Yes, it's just 40 years of SDS. What have we learned? So this is Tim Stainton. He's going to be exploring bits about the last 40 years, the long history of SDS, struggles, research, what it tells us, what it doesn't, all that kind of stuff. So that's from 5 till 7 tonight. So that's quite an unusual time to be having things, isn't it? But that's just it'll work okay.
Yeah, 5 p.m. UK time. Anyway, 5 p.m. UK time. Although it says, just in case anybody's looking at that on screen and thinking, what does that mean? Yeah, it means it's 5 p.m. UK time until 6:30 p.m. Isn't it? So it's like, that's what it is. It's that's what that equates to. That's what that is the equivalent of in pound, shilling, and pence.
In pound, shilling, and pence, and that's all part of the self-directed support network, and it's part of the work that In Control Scotland's been involved with for the past few years, and across Europe, hasn't it? Really?
Yeah. That's under that Erasmus Plus skills work, and like you say, that we've been involved in that for maybe certainly 3 years. Anyway, certainly the last 3 years. Probably longer when you look back at it, but it's certainly the last 3 years anyway. So that's right.
Yeah. So that's cool, and then we've got Michael's got another Tuesday talk next week.
So the Michael's Tuesday talk next week, he's going to focus on one of his favourite subjects, and that is sport, right? So he's going to focus on sport and football, and that's what he's talking about next week. And it's the last Tuesday talk before, as we probably mentioned before we have a short summer break on Tuesday talks, and think about what we come back with after that. So there won't be any Tuesday talks in July. And Dr. Danielle Farrell did her last one yesterday, just before that short break. So that's available on all good platforms near you. Yeah.
Brilliant.
So available on YouTube, available on our Facebook, available on Citizen Network TV as well. So and we've got, and then there's going to be another one, another skills related thing on the 21st, isn't there, about institutionalization as well. Yeah.
So there's quite a lot going on, a lot to cram in before the summer break.
Yeah.
Okay, shall we welcome our guests?
Yeah, let's do that.
So hello, we have Fionn and Jonathan. How you doing?
Great, hello.
Yes, hi Alistair and Keith.
Hi there.
How are you guys doing?
Yeah, we're doing good. Good in our different spaces. I'm in the attic in Glasgow.
And I'm in the shed. I'm in the shed or the sauna, depending how much the sun is out. My log cabin in the garden. It's generally a pretty good place to be. Looking out onto the birds and the nice trees in the garden. So occasionally it can get a little bit hot, but it's a lovely spot. I think it's important to have a good place to work.
Indeed, where are we?
Oh well, we are in my apartment here in Galway, in beautiful Ireland.
We're one floor up off the ground, and we have a lovely balcony with a lot of trees out back.
Yes,
and we still have bird feeders out there even in the summer.
Oh, we do.
So we get a lot of birds visiting.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we're quite close to the ocean as well.
Yes, we go swimming most mornings.
Most mornings we do.
Yeah, I know. I remember you telling us about that last time about like going into the sea almost every day. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, mind you, shortly after we talked to you, we stopped that
Yeah.
because the seawater was getting colder and colder.
Yeah.
Well, I guess it was about late October that we dressed. We took one plunge in the middle of the winter.
Yeah.
When was that?
Christmas Day.
Yeah. And then we didn't start again until the beginning of May. And we've been at it since.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That makes sense because it is pretty hardcore, isn't it? When the weather gets, you've got to think about your safety as well. I was up in Shetland, in about October time, I think it was. Just before lockdown, and there's a group up there called the Selkies, and they go in. They well, one of them proudly told me that wetsuits are for softies. I got told. I wear a wetsuit if I go swimming in open water, but I was quite told that wetsuits are for softies. And she went in the sea every day just in her swimming costume. And I was
Well, your mother joined us 2 days ago, and she had a wetsuit on, but we wouldn't typically. But to be clear, swimming is not really the right term for what we do. We get in and we get back out.
Yeah.
Does that fit with Zoosophy? Just being like a fish or a seal or whoever else lives in the sea.
Yeah.
Anyway, you've been getting a few hellos there.
Yes.
So there's Debbie saying hello.
Lovely.
Yeah.
Yes.
And June is saying a big massive welcome to Fionn and Jonathan, and Tom is saying hi to everybody. So Tom's one of our regular viewers, so he's saying hi to everybody there. Yeah. And Michael's saying hi to you as well.
Yes, I know.
A few people you don't know, some other people you don't know.
Yeah, I saw Debbie there. Hi, Debbie.
Wonderful. So we do double duty also when we make our trip down to the ocean each day, because we have to cross a railroad tracks. There's a field, then there's the tracks, and then there's a wooded lane, a lovely one with cows on one side, and there's a big sign that says private property, don't go past this point, and we just stroll on by, and then we do what?
Well, we do a bird transect.
We do a bird transect every day.
Yeah.
So that means that we're looking with our binoculars for all the birds that we can see. And as of February, we started doing it in a more sort of official citizen science way, where we're recording all the species and the numbers of birds that we're seeing. And it's been fascinating to watch the birds come in over the weeks and months as the seasons change. And we've learned so much just in these few months. But really all of lockdown for over a year has been about noticing things around us. Because Fionn loves nature and has really awakened my lifelong interest in nature, but awakened in a new way. Yeah. But we do a lot of traveling when we're not in a global pandemic. And it's been really quite a blessing to be cooped up but which has opened up the world around us in a really good way. Would you agree?
I would, yes.
Yeah. So you've got more time to do that, to look at those birds that are just down in the field near you, haven't you? Yeah.
We do. We still have to make time. It's still
we do.
It's great to make commitments with yourself. You know, that that's something that I've become so aware of during this time at home, is that we could just, there's always food, calories are easy to come by, and easy to consume. And so kind of setting I've never been a great one for discipline, whether it be like disciplining a child or self-discipline, but that's one of the greatest tools we have in our lives to to determine what our life is going to be is discipline, and the best kind is self-discipline, of course. But also the part when you have a partner, whether it be whoever that partner may be, doesn't it make every decision you make so much easier to follow through on all the commitments that you make? If you share it, it's much easier to see things through. So even though we've been sort of taking a sort of sabbatical, like the world has taken a sabbatical, we're engaged in learning a whole lot, just learning differently.
Yeah, and having fun, I'm sure, at the same time.
Oh yes, having fun.
Yeah.
We have a lot of laughs together, and we what was it? As I said, Fionn's mother was over the other day. As you mentioned, this is Fionn's apartment, and his is the only name on the lease. And we've moved into this place since we last were on Webinar Wednesdays, because that was only in the end of May. So it's been a year now. But Fionn's mother will often come over for visits. So I live here as well, but I'm just your roommate, your flatmate sort of thing. But you're the one who pays all the bills, and
that's right.
Your name is on all the utility bills and all of that.
That's right.
So Veronica was over, and we went for our swim together.
Oh, we did. Yeah.
And then on the way back, you checked the mail.
I did.
Twice.
Yeah.
Because that's what Fionn does every day. That's part of his ritual commitment to himself. Is he opens up the mailbox and sees if there's anything in there, and then he closes the door, and then he opens it up again just in case. And that sort of thing just cracks me up. I think you have wonderful ways of living that are just so endearing.
Yeah.
You got to find the joy in things, don't you? I must admit that the video that you did for Open Future Learning, which included the bloopers at the end.
That was good fun.
That was good fun. So the railway tracks that are in that video, is that the ones that are just beside you?
Those are the ones. We filmed all of that that little promo trailer thing in and around the apartment. So you get a good sense for our place when you watch that little promo. And actually, we worked with Open Futures last November. We made that one in March, I think. But in November, we were in New York City. So even though we haven't done much traveling, we did get one trip to the States. And it was very fortunate that dear friends their wedding was scheduled at the beginning of November, which was just in that sort of window, at least as Ireland is concerned, where there was a couple of months really, or it feels like only a couple, maybe it was four months or so in the autumn, right up to Christmas, where things were relaxed, and then we went back down into lockdown. So we were able to go to the wedding in Pennsylvania, and we went to an amazing. Our lives are so blessed. We have so many weird, wonderful coincidences. And at the beginning of the trip, where did we find ourselves? Well, we're talking about nature today.
Okay.
So, what was the amazing nature experience we had when we traveled to America? And first, we stopped in New Jersey.
Oh yes. We went to Cape May.
Yeah, mind you, New Jersey doesn't sound like a place with amazing nature, but there really is some. So if you watch The Sopranos or whatever, you wouldn't think so. But Cape May is one of these incredible places. The landscape of the world sometimes causes migrating birds to all funnel into one little area, and this is a peninsula before a big estuary, right? Where one of the big rivers flows into the ocean. And so particularly when the weather is right, they just get thousands and thousands of birds. And we didn't know this before. We ended up spending the weekend there, that this is one of the world's hotspots.
Yeah.
And we were there exactly the right week in the entire year. So that was really special. And we also arranged to go to New York City and to film some of the modules for that Down syndrome training course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great. And we've got Debbie's just saying she loves the photo of you in bed, Fionn, with all your bird books.
Oh. That's fantastic. Thanks, Debbie.
And that was not arranged. The picture has Fionn asleep in bed, and there were a good dozen bird books all laid out on the bed, taking the other half of the mattress up. And that's what you don't do that every night, but many nights. So Fionn is really that's a thing about you. You have a real strength. Surprisingly, to go along with your Down syndrome, you are quite an intellectual.
Oh yes,
loves to study and to learn. Fionn does, and that fits really well with me, because that's I'm a bit of an egghead as well. So we love to be outside, but we also love to just tuck in to the books and enjoy the written word.
So what about this thing about being happiness experts? Go and explain what you mean by that, and what you think you can share with other people. Oh, looks like it's.
Alistair, if you asked a question, we missed it. There was a bit of a blackout.
Sorry.
What was it you said?
Okay. So I was just saying about this idea of being happiness experts, about what you can share about that, and just let people know a little bit more about what made you think of that.
Happiness. What do you love about your life?
Yeah, through research, right?
Yeah.
So
through research.
So asking what people
Sorry, do you mind
love
just tell us that again, because we did just have another little cut out there. So just tell us that bit again.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so the question is, what do you love about your life?
And Fionn has asked around 600 people that question, and it started when, as a teenager, you didn't know what you wanted to be when you grow up,
Right.
but you had a bunch of ideas that you wanted to explore.
Oh, yeah.
And you and I decided that we would do that we would take our time. That it's not there's nobody pushing you into, like, you have to choose because we're allowing you to come into college, to university. Right. No one was making that offer.
Yeah.
So we said, well, let's look at this and let's really explore your love of music, your love of filmmaking, your love of nature, your love of visual arts. Let's ask people who live those lives and who are experienced living as an artist, or as a lot of other things, as a politician or as an ecologist. Or let's ask them that one question that you came up with.
Yes.
What do you love about your life? And so having asked that many, and it's still growing and going and moving in new directions. Along the way, we realized we know something now, right?
Yes.
We know what people think, what they feel, what they love about their lives. So last month we had a conversation with an author that some people may know. His name is Mike Viking, although it doesn't look like it's pronounced that way. He's from Denmark, and he had a book that was a bestseller a couple of years ago. Do you want to say what it's called?
Yes, it's called The Little Book of Hygge.
Yes, and hygge is the Danish word for comfort. I think it translates roughly as the Little Book of Comfort, and he is the CEO of the Happiness Research Institute in Copenhagen. And so when we learned that, we said we have to get in touch with this fella, and we told him a bit about us by email, and his assistant got back to us and said, Mike would love to talk with you. And we had a really interesting conversation.
Yes.
And he was quite interested in our research and our plans to publish. And he said, would you like me to put you in touch with my publisher? We said, sure, that would be lovely. So fingers crossed, we'll have something to report about that. And the other way in which we've developed the happiness expertise is you've been giving some talks, right?
Yes.
And the one that was really special happened in England in 2019.
Yes.
What was that event?
The Nora Pie.
No, happiness.
Happiness.
You gave the keynote address.
Yes. In Cornwall. Yeah.
It was called the first.
The conference was called the Global Happiness Conference.
It was secondary students from 7 countries who came together in England. And again, when I read, oftentimes I'm the one doing the research and about what things we might want to get involved with. And I'm a bit of I have a bit of a short attention span, or maybe you could say I'm very broadly. My interests.
You're a bit of both, man.
Bit of both.
Yeah, you are.
So I found out that there was this happiness conference, and I said, I think I've got your keynote speaker, and they agreed. And Fionn went and told about your experiences learning about and studying happiness.
Yeah.
And now, as the global advocates for the Citizen Network, we are looking at, in fact, it would have been this month, about 15 months ago, that we decided with Simon Duffy that the Citizen Network would host a conference on the theme of happiness, and that we would be able to have a significant role to play in that conference. And of course, it's all been put aside for now. But we're really thinking, as we're moving out of lockdown and such, that this theme of exploring happiness is going to be so important and such a really useful way to rebuild our connections with the people that we haven't been able to see. Our connections have been frayed at the edges, at least. And so we have something we can offer, I think, just by bringing communities together. And I mean, it's such a simple question, isn't it? There's nothing, well, I was going to say there's nothing profound about it, but it's quite profound, I think.
Yeah, it's that thing about how you view things, because the things that are around about you are what they are, but your view of how you perceive them, your ability to change them, whether or not you get upset or bothered by things, or you try and make an influence on them, it's absolutely huge. I can't remember whether it's from Catcher in the Rye, but there's the thing that you can look down. It can be the same day, and you can look up at the blue sky, or you can look down at the dog mess on the pavement, and it's the same day and it's the same reality, but you choose where you spend your time looking. And I always thought that was quite a good quote. It's probably not that accurate, but because it's a long time ago since I read it. But I have come across another guy called Dr. Andy Cope, who does the Art Brilliance, who's a doctorate in happiness or something like that, who's got and he's quite a really interesting guy to speak to as well, if you ever get the chance, because what he did was he was spending a lot of time looking at people who, which is what we do, we look at people who are unhappy, and we try and make people up to average happiness, right? But what he did was he tried to seek out the people who were most happy and try and say what was different about their approach to life, how they saw things, and try and kind of, so rather than just aiming for average, try and look at, hey, how about if we all looked at what's the most happy we could be? Just put an interesting view on things rather than the pathology, the sort of negative side.
Yeah, I was just going to say, it's just so interesting about words, isn't it? I think I've been thinking about lots of different words that you've said, because I was thinking Andy Viking. Well, he definitely should come from Denmark, shouldn't he? And
Yes.
I was thinking about Dr. Andy. You've just talked about there. He's found an interesting way to cope. And The other thing I was thinking, that when you meet Mike Viking, he will definitely want to give you a hugger.
when we meet in person, yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
He did say he'll give you a guided tour, a personalized guided tour of the Happiness Museum, which they run in Copenhagen when we get there.
Yeah. So are the the happiness conference that you mentioned there? So are you beginning to remake plans for that?
We haven't talked to Simon about it, but we've been thinking about it. We had a lovely talk last week with an organization I think you both are aware of called Starfire, and they're in Cincinnati in Ohio, and just exploring ideas. We said we don't know when we're going to get to Ohio, but we would love to do this kind of work with your community. And that was the first kind of organization that we reached out with. And of course, we can do it online. We've kind of resisted that. We've done a lot of work online, including giving talks and playing music, and even trying to do our comedy routines. But I don't know, there's something personally that I pull back from the idea of doing these "What do you love about your life" interviews online. We may succumb in time, but I really feel like that works very well when we're in the room with people.
It does.
Some things you just can't transfer into the digital world, I think.
Yeah. So is it worth us sharing your little video that you did for Open Future Learning? Do you think? Because I was just thinking, just going into that, it's quite a difficult topic, but I just think that there's such a contrast between you guys' attitude, including the other post I saw in Fionn, where it's the one that says I'm lucky, about 499 out of the other 500 people don't have, parents don't have us.
Say it. Fionn will say it, I think.
Yeah. When you consider that 499 out of 500 babies suffer from a lack of Down syndrome, my parents are incredibly lucky.
There we go. That's perfect. That's exactly it.
Yes.
So,
yeah, it very much is. I agree, Alistair. It's an attitude toward life, and if you watch the video that we made for Open Futures, we didn't write we neither wrote the script for that piece nor for the actual module. We did give some feedback on the module contents, but you'll see that Fionn is kind of listing all of these horrible malaise that kind of afflict people with Down syndrome. But it's all true. It's accurate, but it's just not our typical modus. It's not generally what we focus on. But I think you did it very well. You handled it in a lighthearted way.
Yes.
Yeah, I just think that is such a contrast to almost, just slightly before that, there was all this stuff with Richard Dawkins, who'd made some utterly horrible comments about, and really just very unscientific comments about, and it was about the level of happiness in the world, and that it was wrong to bring somebody with Down syndrome into the world because it would likely reduce the happiness. And I thought, if there ever was a more obvious counter argument for that really ignorant statement, it's you guys.
Thank you for saying so. Interestingly, the man who asked and kind of confronted Dawkins on that issue a few months back is an acquaintance of ours. And he actually, how is it that we know Brendan?
So we know Brendan. We know Brendan Connor because we were on. Well, we were invited to be on the Saturday to be on the Saturday night show hosted by him.
It was a big talk show that on television that he previously hosted.
Yeah.
And he was a lovely fellow. That was our first kind of foray into a bit of humor because, I mean, public humor, I suppose.
Yeah.
He has a child with Down syndrome himself, and he asked, is there anything in particular that you want me to ask when I'm interviewing? And I said, well, Fionn has an answer if you ask the question, how does it feel to have Down syndrome? And so he did. He asked you, how does it feel to have Down syndrome? And you...
And I said, how does it feel to not have Down syndrome, Brendan?
Yes.
Which was just one of these, that we hoped to encourage people to think twice. That was kind of the goal of sort of pointing out that is there a difference, and does it matter really, and don't we put too much of an emphasis on the differences that we have?
Absolutely, and I thought he really handled that interview so well with Dawkins in terms of there was the humanity. He didn't, and I just thought it was exceptional considering some of the.
It was a master class, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, how ill-informed, and it just goes back to it's not long ago that eugenics was in general was accepted in Britain and America as as being an okay thing, a scientific thing to do, that we should really try and stop people from having kids who have disabilities, and this idea it would dilute the nation and stuff, and really horrible thoughts. But it just shows how not very far from the surface it is when you actually start looking.
And I think you raise an important point, because we're talking about the power of being optimistic. But I think too, there's a weakness in being Pollyanna, for lack of a better term. But naivety is actually a wonderful approach to life. I think just assuming that you don't know much and being open to the world. But at the same time, willful ignorance is an ugly thing, and I think we do have to recognize and call out discrimination and hatred and those kind of things. And that was clearly an example of that, and done in such an illogical way by a man who's renowned for being a scientist and for following the evidence. It was just a supposition that he was making that so many of us know is just false. But at the same time, you've been working a little bit with Heidi Croucher.
I have,
who is bringing a high court case in London next month, right? 6th of July, it will be heard. And she's saying that the law in England that says that women may not terminate a pregnancy after 26 weeks unless there's, I think the term is a significant fetal abnormality or something like that. But anyway, Down syndrome is lumped into that category, in which case there's no limit, there's no time limit on when the termination can occur. And we generally stay out of that conversation, but then sometimes it feels like, well, it's wrong to just stay on the sideline when there's something so blatantly discriminatory, because what we're saying as a society is that people with Down syndrome should be erased, right? We'd be better off. We're encouraging women to terminate by having policies like that. And I think that's really hateful. I think that it's an example. It's a modern eugenics. And so, if we were living in Germany during the age of the Nazis, I don't think you could really justify saying, oh, we're just happy. None of that matters to us. You really do have to sometimes weigh in. And I'm very proud of you for finding a way to speak your truth there.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's interesting. I mean, it's quite heavy stuff today, but it's really important stuff that still the message about what happened to the Jews, due to the Nazis, is a lot more publicly known than the impact on people with disabilities, because they started with folk with disabilities first. And I think there's still not an awareness of just how horrible that history is, and how, because sometimes people don't always recognize that when we start talking about some of these things, it is the thin end of the wedge, and that people have lost their lives, they've lost their freedoms, they've lost their ability to have their own children, because people have thought that they knew better and have been allowed to carry out awful atrocities. And we've just got to make sure that we're really aware that when people start to minimize the impact of some of this stuff, or to just change the narrative, that we have to really keep that in mind, just how realistic and how current a lot of these fears are.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Anyway,
we also need to give you some space. Sorry, we just need to give you some space to. So I'm just thinking, Alistair, that we've shared the link, and we just need to make sure we've got enough space for Fionn and Jonathan to talk about Zoosophy, because I can't actually. I always find it hard to say Zoosophy, right? So just so
yes, let's do that. Okay.
Yeah, we'd love to tell you a little bit about it, but although some of it's under wraps, because we'll have a proper launch. We can't even say the launch date, in the autumn at some point. We've been doing a lot of preparation.
Yeah.
We've been making a lot of contacts with people all around the world to be a part of it. So what is Zoosophy? Let's start with the name, because you won't find that word in a dictionary yet.
Right. Well, zoo is the Greek word for animal, and Sophie, it has two meanings. One is the love of, and the other meaning is the wisdom of.
Yeah, I think the ancient Greeks saw wisdom and love as being quite interlinked.
Yeah.
Right. Mm-hmm. And so Sophia, you don't come upon most of the studies, most of the sciences of the world are ology, right? They have that as a suffix, which means something other than osophy. So osophy, you have philosophy, but I can't think of too many others that have that ending to them. But anyway, ology, the difference between ology and osophy, and why we didn't go with zoology, is because ology suggests a distance from your subject, right? You're supposed to be objective. You're supposed to be like a machine in your approach to the study of the subject. And who is studying it shouldn't matter in ology, because you erase yourself. When you're just saying anybody could repeat this and would get the same results. That's how a lot of science is done. I think it's probably wrong, because we can never erase ourselves. And who would want to? Like, that's not how we should learn about the world. That really, it's our unique interests in the subject. So Fionn has an abiding love of animals, and of the world, the places where animals live, and of humans also.
Oh yeah.
Whether humans are animals or humans are not, that's not something we tackle in this project. Right. But rather that humans have a special relationship with animals. Again, we like to look at the positive side mostly, but you can't be unaware of the negative. Yeah. So people and their interactions with animals is kind of the theme of this overall project. So there's a lot of researchers. We're going to be spending a week at the end of July out on the ocean off the west coast.
Oh yes, I got that. I probably take it. Put that up.
Yes, we'll be on that. On that boat with the Irish Whale and Dolphin group. Let me see if I can get it. There.
Okay.
There you go. And so we're doing a bottlenose dolphin survey for a week with them. And really, Fionn used to say, when you grow up, one of the many things that he said about when he grows up, what he wants to be was to become.
Oh yeah, to become the next Sir David Attenborough. Yeah.
And I realized, I mean, an amazing man. I think everyone appreciates him. At the same time, if I can problematize the work of BBC, or the BBC World or BBC Earth.
Yeah.
For a long time, they created this fiction that the natural world exists without people. And they do a lot of tricks in their documentary making to create that illusion that there aren't people in the picture studying all these animals and showing all these amazing phenomena. And only recently have they really shifted the tone and said, look what we're doing, or look at the positives, but more look at the negatives. And we think it's time to really have the human in the frame. Whenever you're talking about animals, you can't. There's no place in the world that we haven't gone to, but we like to say in many positive ways, or with the possibility of doing really great things for and with animals. So that's the project. It's going to be a podcast, but we'll have the camera on too. So I think it's going to be a video channel as well.
Yeah.
And if we can jump to plug one other project, there's something that we have that's going on already, and it has to do with Scotland, in fact.
Yes. Well, so it's called Magnus, Fionn and Friends.
Yes,
right.
It's about music. And Magnus Turpey is a young man who lives in Edinburgh and plays a mean accordion.
Oh, yes.
And his mother does, and his father plays the border pipes. Yeah. And we'll play music with them on a Saturday evening, the last Saturday of the month, doing a Facebook Live. And we'll probably figure out how to do as you guys are doing, put it on various platforms. But rather than just have swapping back and forth songs in Galway and songs in Edinburgh, Magnus invite on a third someone.
Yeah.
So far, it's musicians with Down syndrome is the theme. And we'll see if that continues. But who was the guest for the month of May?
Amy Richardson and her mother.
She's a multi-instrumentalist who lives in Dublin. And for the June, the last Saturday in June, for that episode, who will we have on?
We will have two sisters from the Isle of Skye, Isabel and Esther, and their two sisters.
Yeah. So tune in. You can find it on Fionn and Magnus.
Yeah.
That's the name of the Facebook page.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. And that's when is it? When did you say that is the last
Saturday of each
Saturday
month.
of every month?
Do it at 8 p.m.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah.
For about an hour. And if we can just do the general plug for ourselves, if you want to follow all that we're doing, well, it's right there on the screen. That's how you spell our combined name, Fionn and Jonathan. Fionathan. And Fionathan.com is the website, and Fionathan is what we use for Facebook and Twitter and Instagram. We are Fionathan. We're the only Fionathan on the World Wide Web, so that keeps it simple.
Yeah.
Okay, that's great.
Brilliant.
Yeah. So and the Zoosophy project will launch fully in the autumn. That's what you're saying, but not.
That's right.
To be continued, to be TBC, right?
Absolutely, and we'd love to work on ways to work with you on it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I didn't want to say this, but if it's launching in the autumn, then dangerously we might need to invite you back on again sometime in the future.
We'd love that. We're very happy to be part of the show. Thank you for having us on again.
Yeah, thank you.
It's been great. It's been great to see you. there's lots of things, so many different things that you're telling us about there that are really interesting. I'm sure for lots of people who are watching it live, and also there's people who watch it later on the different platforms. So, yeah.
Brilliant.
And Alistair, you'll connect the link to that video that you mentioned.
Yes, I've got that. We've got it in the chat there. So, so it's, if anybody wants to watch it, we can just I'll just put it up again. Anybody can watch it on the Open Future Learning's Facebook page and stuff, and that's just good stuff. Brilliant. Okay, guys, thanks for joining us.
Great, a pleasure. Thank you for having us.
Yes, have a good week. Have a good rest of the summer.
Bye.
Thank you, and you too.
Yes.